Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durban.
And I'm Rhapthorne.
And today we're going to read way too much into the Two Towers. I think of this trilogy, Two Towers is probably my favorite. Even though Return of the King has scenes that are my favorite of the whole trilogy, I think as a whole, Two Towers is my favorite movie in this trilogy.
Yeah, I agree. But I've always been like an origin story fan.
True. Those are fun.
So for me, like, anytime you have like a multiple movies or trilogy or quadrilogy or whatever, like I really always enjoy the first one. It's not always my favorite, but it's usually my favorite one just because of the origin story.
Sets up everything.
It sets everything up. And then after that, you're just kind of going through everything else. And it's just like, I don't know. For me, it's just like learning about the characters and like coming up to, these points. It's like, that's what I enjoy. But yeah, no, Two Towers, great movie though.
Awesome. What did you read into this movie?
So continuing on from my last reading way too much into, which you can find in the description below, Two Towers continues the journey of Frodo and Sam and the rest of the Fellowship of the Ring. Now, Frodo, as I said in the last video, being ordained, it feels like he's brand new. He knows God's calling, and he's on fire for God right now, and he's carrying out this mission to rid the world of this sin. Now, as you progress, even as a Christian, as you progress, you tend to get weary.
Mm-hmm.
You tend to, kind of fall off a little bit. You're just like, okay, not quite on fire as you were. And at that point, as Christians, what we need to do, and what a lot of us do, is we need to get that spiritual mentor in our lives. Now, personally, I do have a spiritual mentor. I meet with him every Monday, and he lifts me up. He builds me back up as a Christian man. Now, Frodo has Sam.
Yes.
That at just about every turn where Frodo is down and almost out, Sam is there to lift him back up. Right towards the end of the movie, where Frodo is about to offer the ring up.
Oh, yeah, he's like sliding it on, and the little dragon dude is there, and it's like...
He's like, I'm right here, right?
Yeah.
That moment where Sam grabs him and they fall down the stairs and Frodo puts Sting to his throat, and then Sam tells the big story about, they'll write about us in stories and blah, blah, blah.
And the good stories are always those who had time to turn back, but they didn't. Yeah, that story.
Yeah, so Sam is there pulling Frodo back onto the path.
Mm-hmm.
Frodo's straying. He's weary. He's tired. He just wants to be done with this whole thing. And as Christians, sometimes we can get that way. It's like, I've done everything that I feel like I need to do. I'm a good Christian and I've done good things. And, I'm just not getting what I want. And what we don't realize is not what we want. It's what God wants for us, or what God wants us to do for others. So it's not always what we want. It's not always our ambition, that gets us things. It's what God wants. He has a plan for us, just like Jeremiah 29:11 says. I have a plan for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in a future. These are the things that the world of Middle Earth, had in store for Frodo. What was the creator? Iluvatar.
Assuming I'm even pronouncing that right. I just read it in the Silmarillion. But
so, his plan for Frodo is such that, it's not what Frodo wants to do, but it is the plan set forth for him. So, again, through that ordainment, Frodo's carrying out this charge from Iluvatar.
Yes. Yep.
And Sam is his spiritual mentor, his spiritual buddy. If you are a Christian and you're watching this and you don't have a spiritual mentor, get somebody that when you're going through something hard, someone who won't judge you for those things. So, go out and get yourself a spiritual mentor like Sam.
One of the things that I super related to in this movie was Aragorn. Like every time I watch this movie, there's so many good things, and everything you said is so awesome, and I can see that. That's like so cool. But what always connects with me every time is Aragorn, because his journey throughout all three movies is fascinating. But for me, something clicks in the Two Towers, because as you see in Fellowship, we know that he's supposed to be the king of men, the king of Gondor. This is who he's supposed to be. But in Aragorn, he carries both faith, hope, and he carries fear. And you can just see that there's that constant war in him. Because in Fellowship, we really get it revealed to us, he doesn't want the power of being king of Gondor. He doesn't want to be anywhere near the ring. And why? Because he is afraid of temptation. He's afraid of succumbing to the temptation of the ring, succumbing to the evil that his ancestors succumbed to. Because he even says it in the movie, the weakness is in my blood too. He is scared of that weakness. What I really like in Two Towers is you really get to see the battle inside between fear and faith. And the part to me where you really see what is predominant in him, what is the strongest thing in him, is the Battle of Helm's Deep. And there's one key moment in Helm's Deep, and it's where Aragorn is sitting out on the steps alone, and he's forlorn. And then he sees like this 12-year-old boy with this sword. And the boy said, the men are saying we will not live out the night. And Aragorn takes the boy's sword. He says, let me see your sword. And he swings it around. And then he has this moment where he's holding the sword. And I mean, this look in his face as he's staring at I mean, it's like he sets his face like flint. I mean, I don't know, man. This new thing comes over his face and comes over his eyes. The elves haven't come yet. There isn't additional help or hope there yet. But something changes in him when he stares at that sword. And he goes, this is a good sword. He hands it back to the boy and he said, there is always hope. And then throughout the Battle of Helm's Deep, he is a natural leader. I mean, look, you had Gimli and Legolas that followed him when the Fellowship broke up. You have the king of Rohan, what's his name, Theoden. You have Theoden who ends up following the lead of Aragorn in that amazing scene where Theoden loses all hope. And he goes, what can man do against such reckless hate? And Aragorn says, ride out with me. Ride out with me and meet them head on. And then Theoden's like, for death and glory. He goes, no, for Rohan, for your people. See, the thing that made him such a great leader, Aragorn such a great leader, is he's a servant. Whereas Theoden thought death and glory, what was Aragorn thinking about? The people. What has Aragorn been thinking about this whole time? Frodo, Gimli, Legolas. The two hobbits he's going after to save. He's thinking about other people. This is what makes him this natural leader, is that he is such a natural servant. But like I was saying, what comes out in this battle is faith. And what shows me that that's what is really inside of him is because when the test was on, that's what came out. Yeah, he had fear. And yeah, he carried it with him. And yeah, the battle between faith and fear did not end at the Battle of Helm's Deep. And I don't even think it ends in Return of the King. And you get to see that. But you get to see that what he fed inside, that is what truly came out when the test was on. When 10,000 marched upon a couple of hundred. Was it fear that came out of him? No, it was that faith. How that really convicts me is we do need to be careful about what we feed in ourselves. We can feed our doubts. We could feed all those negative things, and those are super, super easy to feed. Or we could feed our faith. And sometimes that takes a little more effort. But the awesome thing about spending time with God, about spending time in the Bible and letting those words soak in, is when those times of testing come, that thing that has been fed the most, that's going to be the thing that comes out.
Yeah. You know, you're talking about how Aragorn's looking at the sword and he gets that hope.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We read in the Bible that the Bible is the sword of truth. Coincidence? All right, so guys, if you saw the Two Towers, tell us what you thought in the comment section below. If you can, give it your own twist like we have. Let us know how you feel about the movie. Also, while you're down there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Rhapthorne.
I'm Durban.
Thanks for checking out Durbania.